Man saves pregnant lioness in time. What male lion does next is heartbreaking. In the heart of Kruger National Park, one of the most breathtaking bonds in the wild had captivated the attention of both rangers and visitors alike. Kovu, a strong, fearless male lion, had always been a constant presence by Nala's side. His steadfast protection a symbol of loyalty and devotion. Nala, the graceful lioness, had once been an active and skilled huntress, but as the months passed and her pregnancy advanced, she grew slower and less able. Her belly, now heavy with new life, made every movement a challenge. Gone were the days when she would chase down her prey with swift, precise movements. Now she spent her days under the shade of the acacia trees, waiting for the day she would give birth. Kovu, ever the protector, took on the role of provider, hunting tirelessly for both himself and his pregnant mate. He would return with food every day, always bringing the spoils of his hunt back to Nala. The two lions shared an unspoken bond, one built on affection, trust, and the quiet power of their partnership. Every day they would share gentle head rubs and nuzzle against each other, as if to reaffirm the deep love between them. These moments of tenderness were a daily reminder of the unbreakable connection that existed between them. As the days wore on, and Nala's due date neared, Kovu's vigilance increased. He stayed even closer to her, rarely leaving her side even for his usual hunting trips. His movements became deliberate, almost protective, as if he instinctively knew the moment was fast approaching. Every time the sun dipped below the horizon, Nala would rest and Kovu would be there, watching over her from a short distance, ensuring her safety. Their life in the wild seemed idyllic, a quiet story of devotion that touched the hearts of everyone who had the privilege of witnessing it. But that morning, the peaceful atmosphere was shattered. The dry season had settled over Kruger, and the sun had just begun to rise, casting a pale light over the grasslands. Kovu and Nala wandered into the open meadow, their usual spot under the tree now too far. They chose a large, solitary tree on the edge of the meadow near the marshlands, where the cool morning air offered some relief from the heat. But suddenly, Nala began to moan, her body tensing as she fought through the first signs of labor. Her stomach twitched, and with every contraction she cried out in pain. The sound echoed across the open grassland, and the ground trembled beneath her. Kovu, confused and unsure of how to help, began to pace nervously. His protective instincts kicked in, and he let out a powerful roar that reverberated across the meadow. His cry was more than just a warning. It was a plea for help. The sound traveled across the park, catching the attention of rangers patrolling the area. Kovu's eyes were wide with panic as he circled Nala, his massive form radiating both concern and confusion. He licked her face in an attempt to comfort her, but Nala's pain only worsened. Her legs twitched uncontrollably as she moaned louder, her breath coming in shallow, painful gasps. She collapsed to the ground, her body limp as she struggled to stay conscious. As Nala lay there, helpless and in agony, Kovu's roar grew louder. His voice cracked through the morning air, desperate for someone, anyone, to help. His eyes, wide with fear, scanned the distance, but there were no familiar faces, only the circling vultures overhead, drawn by the smell of blood. Kovu's fear turned to panic as the bloodstain beneath Nala grew larger. The situation had become grave, and there was no time to waste. As the two lions faced their darkest moment, fate intervened. Ethan and Tabo, seasoned rangers in Kruger, were patrolling the eastern part of the park when they heard the unmistakable roar of the male lion. Recognizing the urgency in Kovu's voice, they immediately stopped the vehicle and climbed onto the hood to scan the area. The sight they saw was chilling. Kovu standing helplessly next to Nala, who was collapsed on the ground, blood staining the earth beneath her. It was clear that she was in labor, but the situation was life-threatening. The rangers knew that this was a critical moment, one that could determine whether Nala and her cubs would survive. Without hesitation, Tabo prepared the tranquilizer gun while Ethan grabbed the medical kit from the trunk. Both rangers moved cautiously toward the lions, their eyes never leaving Kovu, who stood protectively near Nala. He watched them approach, his concern for Nala evident in his eyes, but instead of attacking, he stepped back slightly, as if understanding that the rangers could help. The trust he had in these humans, these strange creatures who had observed him for so long, was nothing short of remarkable. Ethan raised his hand in a calming gesture, signaling to Kovu that they meant no harm. With Kovu reluctantly retreating a few meters, Ethan moved swiftly to Nala's side. Her breathing was shallow and her body was swollen from the strain of labor. Blood continued to flow, but she remained unconscious, her body fighting against the pain. Ethan knew that time was running out. He immediately administered painkillers and fertility drugs, hoping to stabilize Nala long enough to deliver her cubs. Tabo kept his distance, ever vigilant, watching Kovu's every move with the tranquilizer gun in hand. Though Kovu remained still, his body was tense, his eyes never leaving the Rangers as they worked on his mate. 10 minutes passed, and then Nala began to convulse again. Ethan, now fully committed, bent down to support her, keeping her body steady as he felt for the position of the cubs. With a practiced hand, he carefully helped the first cub emerge. A low growl from Nala indicated her approval, and Ethan breathed a sigh of relief. But the work was far from over. Another contraction came, and quickly the second cub was born, followed by a third. The final cub was weak but alive, and Ethan carefully wiped away the blood and mucus, placing them gently on Nala's stomach. Nala, though still unconscious, began to show the first signs of maternal care. Her body instinctively moved closer to her cubs, her paw lightly resting on the firstborn. Kovu, ever watchful, moved closer, his concern now shifting to the 3 tiny lives that had just entered the world. He growled softly as he cautiously sniffed each cub, his gaze softening as he observed them. It was as if the male lion understood that his family was complete once again. With their task done, Ethan and Tabo quietly retreated, leaving the lion family in peace. They slowly walked back to the vehicle, their hearts heavy with the weight of the moment. They had witnessed the birth of 3 new lions, and yet it was the bond between Kovu, Nala, and their cubs that stayed with them the longest. The connection between humans and the wild had never been more apparent. As the Rangers silently drove away, the sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a warm golden glow over the meadow. Kovu, Nala, and their cubs were left to begin their new journey, a symbol of resilience in life in the wild. The lion family moved slowly across the open field, the bond between them stronger than ever. The story of Kovu and Nala had become one of love, trust, and devotion, a tale that would be remembered by all who had been fortunate enough to witness it. In Kruger National Park, the untold stories of humans and wild animals continued to unfold. Ethan and Tabo, their hearts full of joy, continued their patrols, carrying with them the sacred memory of a birth, a miracle in the wild, and the powerful connection between man and beast.